This is the story of the loss and recovery of my two kids who went missing. Hannah when she was 2 years old, and Paulo when he was 3 years old on March 9, 1986, 35 years ago. This is an amazing and miraculous story that we should never forget. It happened on a Sunday, which is a very busy day for a pastor like me, as pastors usually are, far too busy, more busy than we should. And so during that Sunday, after the worship service, there was a baptism service in the afternoon, which was going to be a long day. And so, in order to give our two youngest kids a rest, we sent them home with our new helper, Juliet. Juliet has been with us when we have been commuting from house to church. And so we thought she knew the way. But she did not. And so when she went off with our two kids, she boarded the wrong jeep, which took her to exactly the opposite direction from where our home was. When we got home, late in the afternoon, we were shocked to find out that there was nobody home. My first reaction was to phone. I forgot who was the person I first phoned. And so after I phoned, I went back to the church, and there were already a small group of people gathered there, and we were praying. We did planning to what to do, but we really didn't know much. It was very confusing. And what I did was to retrace the trip back home. I boarded a jeep and stopped at different spots to ask if there was a girl with two kids that was seen in that place. So I did that in several stops until I reached the point where we should take a tricycle to take us home. So there were two rides, a jeep and a tricycle ride. But even in the tricycle station, nobody could tell me about a girl with two kids that they saw. We, with the group, talked about reporting to the police. And so we went to the police station. And then the group who was helping us phoned other people about the situation. I continued to find places where we could possibly get some leads. And during that time, there were kids being kidnapped. They were either sold to maybe childless couples or were kidnapped for ransom. And one of the notorious places where there were kids being reported to have been kidnapped was in Quiapo. And so I went there and talked to the police. The day was getting dark. I haven't gone home yet because I was with some friends who provided their car for us to be able to move around more quickly. And so we have been just driving around without a definite purpose or plan. We were really like headless chicken flopping around. But we had to do something. And so that's what we have been doing through the night. Unknown to us during that time, in the evening, about 1 a.m., there were several policemen who went to our house and knocked at the door, and Wilma opened, and she saw Juliet with Hannah and this group of policemen who were their escorts. And Wilma was terrified. It was a very traumatic time for her. She was relieved that Hannah was back, but shocked even more that Paulo was not there, was not with them. It was a very stressful, incredibly confusing time for us. Very tiring. And added to the stress was that the phone in our house kept on ringing, and we kept on telling the story, retelling and retelling to people who were asking. And it was exhausting. It was decided that in order for us to be more organized, there was a contact point where those who want to help and inquire can go or call, not in our house. And so it was the Basco's house, our friend, that was made to be that contact point. And friends delivered food and prayed and communicated. During that time also, one of the most significant help that we received was people who have contact with the media, and so the news was spread on the television, on the radio, and also on the newspaper, particularly the Inquirer, a national newspaper, through the friend of somebody who helped us, Normal Yongoren, who had contact with Betty Go Belmonte, who was the publisher of Inquirer. But most importantly was the help of people who were praying for us. The news spread far and wide, and people were praying in England, in the UK, in Singapore, in Thailand. And so there were a lot of people who were together with us in this trauma. The surprise came when there was a telephone call from Betty Go Belmonte, the publisher of the Inquirer magazine, and she reported that Paulo was at the Inquirer's office. And so Wilma and I went there, and we got there. We saw Paulo, who was with Tony Mercado, the guy who took him. And I didn't know how I felt at that time. It was numbing, very tired. I didn't cry, I didn't laugh. I just wanted to go home and take my son home. But there has to be the photo shoots of all of us, and interview for an article that was going to be published. And the following day, we were at the front page of the newspaper. We were celebrities. And so the story was that Juliet, who was lost and was let down by the jeep at the end of the destination at Harrison Plaza, didn't know what to do. And so, feeling confused, there was this man, Tony Mercado, who offered to help and to give Paulo a drink. And so he took Paulo, and Juliet waited and waited, but there was no more Paulo. They did not return. And so he went to the security and asked for help. Mercado's story was that he took Paulo, and when he got back to look for Juliet, Juliet was gone. And so he took Paulo. He said that he kept Paulo because he didn't know where to take him. And it was only when he saw the article in the newspaper about Paulo that he thought about taking Paulo to the headquarters, to the office of Inquirer, to find Paulo's parents. And so that was it. We thought that was it. However, 1 month after, there was a front page news report about an attempted assassination of Cory Aquino, the president. And the man who would be his would-be assassin was no less than Tony Mercado. It was stunning. And the title of the news article is Good Samaritan or Criminal. Mercado was apprehended, imprisoned, and was confined at the Viluna Hospital, which is near our church. And so I thought of sharing the gospel with him, and visited and was allowed by the security to talk to him and have a Bible study with him. And he told me that he was framed, that he didn't really intended to kill Cory. I even invited him to go to church, and the security escorted him and allowed him to attend our church. But mysteriously, another report that he escaped. More questions. He phoned me because he already had contact with me and we had some sort of friendship. And he said that he did not really escape, but he was released. And he said that he is somewhere in San Miguel, Bulacan, in a house near the cockpit. And so with those lead, a couple of friends looked for that house. We did find a house and was told that he had already gone. And so, that's it. We never heard from him again. "35 years after, this experience was resurrected with the help of Ross James, who wrote an article during that time that was published in a big newspaper in New Zealand, who thought that this story must never be forgotten. And so now again, I've gone back to that amazing, miraculous story indeed, and tried to do some more research about Mercado, explore the military, the intelligence, who I thought by this time, 35 years after, would already have the truth, the facts. That was a mystery during that time. But no success. And so that seems to be a story that will never be answered. But who cares? Do we have to know? The most important thing is that my two kids, Hannah and Paulo, are now doctors and have their own family. And I've gone back to the desire to help others who have also the same or similar experience like ours of disappeared persons in their family through prayer intercession.